Hello students, welcome to the class. Today we are going to learn two topics. The first is the exchange value of chessmen, and the second one is how to note down the moves or how to record the moves. Let's start with the exchange value of chessmen. Okay students, chess is basically a war game, isn't it? Here a player with white chessman plays his opponent who has black chessmen. These chessmen are basically our soldiers, our weapons through which we are fighting the war. Now, whenever we fight a war, there are losses for both sides. Sometimes there are exchange of losses, isn't it? If two enemy countries fight each other, sometimes soldiers get killed, tanks get destroyed, okay, weapons, the jets, they get destroyed and so on. Now in the same manner, in a game of chess, we lose some chessmen. Sometimes we exchange with some chessmen of our opponent. Now the reason why we are learning the values of chessmen is it will help us to understand who is the gainer when there is exchange of pieces. Okay, and well, I shall be giving you a rough estimate of what is the value of each and every chessman. Now, there are 8 pawns for each side. If the value of pawn is 1, then the value of knights is 3. The value of bishops 3. That means knights and bishops are equal, and they are 3 times more expensive or valuable than a pawn. Rook 5, that means rook is 5 times as much as a pawn, or 5 pawns are equal to a rook, and a rook is more powerful or valuable than a knight or a bishop because these are 3. And we all know a queen is very powerful, very valuable, because it is the combined strength of rook and a bishop. The value of a queen is 9. So let's repeat. This is 1, this is 3, this is 5, this is a 3, rook 5 and queen 9. Now why do we have these values? I mean, why is a knight 3 times as powerful as a pawn? The reason is a knight usually controls more squares than a pawn. For instance, a knight in the center can move to 8 different squares, whereas a pawn usually, when it's moving for the first time, it has 2 different options. It can move 2 squares, 1 squares. Otherwise, it only moves 1 square forward. That is why a knight is much more valuable than a pawn. Sometimes a pawn maximum has 3 options. It can capture on both sides or it can advance. But that's the maximum which a pawn can have. Well, however, a pawn, when it gets promoted, we can ask for a queen and the pawn becomes more valuable than even a knight. Okay, but that's an exception. Okay, so a pawn is 1, knight is 3. And why is a bishop equal to the knight? A bishop controls more squares, no? A bishop from one end to go one end can go to another extreme end. So it has more number of squares where it can move to, but still the value of a bishop is equal to a value of a knight. Why? Because the knight can jump. Okay, bishop sometimes are blocked and cannot move. So that is why, although a knight moves less squares than a bishop, it can jump and it is regarded to be equal to a bishop in most situations. And we know a rook controls more square than a bishop. You can try this experiment yourself. You may place a rook in the center of the board and a bishop in the same square, and you can check which chessman, rook or bishop, moves to more different squares. Okay, a rook, of course, and that is why a rook has 5 value, 5 times more value than a pawn. Queen is obviously much more valuable. We have forgotten to mention the value of king. Yeah, the reason is that king cannot be exchanged or captured. So there is no need to calculate how much I have gained or lost if I exchange my king. That is why we don't say king has any value. And another point is, since surrounding a king is the end of the game, it's checkmate, that is why king is considered to be the most valuable, uh, and we don't actually have any particular specific value for the king. Now, another very important thing to remember here is that although we know the value of pieces now by this time, but they keep on fluctuating, they are not fixed. For example, a pawn, as I said, is the weakest, the lowest value among all chessmen. But sometimes a pawn can be, according to a given position, it can be even more valuable than a queen, okay, in exceptional situations. Okay, let me compare with real life. We all know cost of oil or petrol is much more than cost of water, isn't it? We can get water for free, but for petrol we have to pay at least 100 rupees for 1 liter. But in some exceptional situations, suppose you have not drunk water for 5 days or even 2 days, then you may spend about 1,000 rupees to get little water so that you can live, isn't it, to survive. So sometimes the water can be more expensive than even oil, depending on the situation. In the same way, although pawns are less valuable, knights are less valuable than a rook, but according to situations, a knight can be even more valuable than a rook. Sometimes a bishop may be more valuable than even a queen. It all depends which position, which situation. Okay, so that is a rough idea of how expensive the pieces are, and while playing, how you should calculate. Okay, sometimes maybe I have captured 2 pawns and 1 bishop, but my opponent has captured a rook. Then who gains? In general, it's equal because bishop is 3 and 2 pawns are 1 1. So 3 plus 2, 5, and the cost of a rook is 5. Okay, in general, these standards apply, but as I said, there may be lots of exceptions which a good player should recognize. Okay, sometimes he may recognize, oh, my bishop is more expensive than rook. Okay, so that was about the value of chessmen. Now let's move on to the next topic, which is recording the moves. Okay, here the most important thing is, or interesting thing is, we can actually play through a game which was played maybe hundreds of years ago. Okay, and it is possible because we can record the moves of the game just like how we record football matches, cricket matches, and everything else, and we can replay and see them later. Okay, we all know Pele was a legend in football, and we can still watch his game by clicking the video recordings of Pele. Right? In the same manner, we can watch the games of the great players of the past because those games are also recorded in chess. And we shall be learning how to record the games. Okay, the first thing to note is when we record how to move or when we note down the moves, it is first we write down the name of chessmen, the pieces, and then we write down the move of the square. If we move this, if we move our knight to this square, we will be writing knight goes to which square? This is f3, isn't it? This is f5, this is third rank, so this square is f3 square. So it will be knight f3. But instead of writing knight to f3, we write shortcut. Okay, first we write the nickname or short name of the chessmen or chess pieces, and then we write the name of the square. So first let's learn the short name of the chessmen. Okay, this is king. The short name of king is K. This is queen. The short name of queen is Q. So simple, right? These are the bishops. The short names of bishops are, bishop is B, capital B. Okay, all these short names are in capital letters. This is knight. The short name of knight is, well, it's not K, it is N. Although it's spelled Knight, but it is written N. The reason is K name belongs to the king. If we write K, there will be confusion. For knight, if you write K, there will be confusion. To avoid that confusion, we have mentioned this knight as N. Okay, Knight. So we have omitted the first alphabet and N stands for knight. Now the name of rook is R. And what are the short names of these pawns? Well, for the purpose of notations, we don't mention the name of pawns. Okay, if only the name of square is written, it implies a pawn has moved to that square. Okay, so, well, to give you an idea of how an entire game is written, I shall be showing you one of the games which I have chosen. This was played in 1899 in the city of Berlin between two players. The player with white pieces is Rosentreter and the player having black pieces is Hofer. Okay, you can see on the right side. Now I have shifted the screen deliberately to show you a chessboard and how we write down the moves on the right side. Okay, now when I make the moves, first you glance at the chessboard and then you also take a view of what I am writing down on the right side or what is written on the right side. Okay, here you can see Rosentreter. Just watch my cursor. This is the name of player with white pieces. Hofer is black. 1-0 signifies white has won the game. Okay, and this is Berlin, the name of the city. This is the year when the game was played. Now the first move, number 1 e4. Just a moment, let me remove this one. Yeah, number 1 e4. This is what is written on the right side. That means, as I mentioned, if there is no mention of any chessman, it means a pawn has moved. Okay, e4 is the name of a square, so that means a pawn has moved to e4. Then you see on the right e5 means black has played e5. So when you note down, you have to note down this way: number 1 e4, number 1, then black plays e5. Now comes the second move, nf3. What does n signify? Knight. What is the f3 square? This one, right? So knight moves to f3. Okay, now black played nc6. The knight moved to c6. Then b, capital B, c4. So white played bishop to c4. Now b, c5. Now black played this move. So what is the name of this square? The highlighted square, c5. And capital B signifies the bishop. So bishop goes to this square. Now 0-0, pay special attention. Now this move 0-0 means castling on the king side. If it is 0-0-0, three zeros, it means castling on the queen side. So here white castled on the king side. You have learnt what castle means, right? Castling means interchanging the position of king and rook, and it's possible if the king has not moved prior to castling and rook has not moved prior to castling. So now castling is possible. Now the move played by black is nf6, means knight moves to f6. And white played d4. Just look at the right side, d4. What is d4? This is the square d4, highlighted square. Who moves to d4? Since there is no mention of a piece, it has to be pawn. Pawn moves to d4. Now another important moment. In this position, black, see, b, capital B cross d4. Capital B means bishop. Bishop cross means captures. Bishop captures d4. Right? This is how a capture is written. B cross d4. Now white captures this with knight. So what you will write? N captures n cross d4. And black again captures this here. So black will write n cross d4. Okay, so you may pause the video or you may keep on repeating the video as many times just to learn how to write down the notation. It's not difficult. Okay, by the way, after d4, black is one pawn ahead. So black has gained. Now white has captured a bishop. White is 3 points ahead, but now black recaptures the knight, which means black is still one pawn ahead. Now white played bishop g5, bg5, h6 means pawn goes here, bh4 means bishop goes to h4 square, g5 means pawn advances to g5. Now white plays a very nice move, that is f4. It's interesting because now black has many options. He can capture this, he can capture this, he can capture this, many options. So black decided to capture this. So black was one pawn ahead. He is capturing a second pawn. So 2 pawns ahead. But now just see what white does. White captures this with his rook. So rook makes up one pawn. Black is still one pawn up. But he will capture the rook now with his pawn. So which means 5 points. A pawn and a rook. That means 6 points ahead. So black, it seems, is having a very good situation. 6 points ahead. But as I said, everything depends from situation to situation. Sometimes, now here for instance, white captures the knight. So white makes up 3 points. He was 6 points behind. Now he is 3 points behind. Now even though white is 3 points behind, the situation is so good that he will very soon win the game. And here black castles 0 plus dash 0. White captures this knight. Now black cannot capture the bishop because the bishop is supported with the queen. Okay, if he captures, white will capture the queen and white will be having a big advantage. Okay, 9 points gone. So now, after capturing this knight, everything has become equal. Just 2 moves back, we were 6 points behind, but white made up this and this. Now when the queen moved to e8, white played a very nice move, threatening to give checkmate to black. He went bishop h8 with the threat of queen g7, supported by the bishop. The queen will land here and checkmate black. it will be check, the king won't be able to run anywhere. And the situation is such that there is not a single move which can defend against this threat. The king cannot capture the bishop because it's supported by the queen. Pawn cannot interfere with queen's movement because the pawn cannot move at all. If it moves, there's a check. So the pawn is tied down and there is no way how black can defend. So in this position, black decided to resign. So it's 1 dash 0, which means 1 point to white, 0 point to black. So in general, it was a very short game, but I showed you how to note down the moves. There may be some exceptions where you have to write slightly more elaborately, but those things you will keep learning as and when we take classes. Okay, so for the time being, this much knowledge is sufficient for you to write down the moves and to play a full game of chess with confidence. Goodbye and thank you.